Hey folks, welcome to e-commerce 360. Today we have Francisca Saraco, who is a social media strategist and was a content producer at Shopify. She has worked with an endless list of brands. I'm going to try and list some of them here: Shopify, Freedom Mobile Shop, Wonderlist, Grape Nut Cereal, Volvo Cars of Canada, RBC Royal Bank, and the list goes on. Thank you so much, Francisca, to come on our show and helping our listeners understand the importance of social commerce. So today's topic is going to be rise of social commerce. But before we jump in, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. Thanks for having me. So I'm Francesca, but my friends call me Fran. I've worked in social for about almost 8 years now, which may seem like a little bit, but a lot has changed in the field since I started. I always like to contextualize that I started on social when you used to have to build a Facebook uh, contest in a separate tab and had to phone a developer. Like that is how much the platforms have changed and really grown over the tenure of my time in the industry. Outside of work, I'm really focused on giving back to my community through a few initiatives that are very close to my heart. I love working out. I'm a proud Peloton user, which I know is not a
Wow.
personality trait, but I, I do love it very
It's
much.
fun. Yeah.
It is, it's super fun. I love like vintage hunting, supporting local businesses. That is something that Shopify instilled in me that I will definitely carry with me into my next adventure, and cooking and eating and traveling and all those great things. So, yeah, just love being a well-rounded human outside of work.
That's amazing. So let's jump right into the topic for today's podcast, which is the rise of social commerce. So, with the recent Shopify integration with TikTok, there has been an uptick in the number of brands that are selling socially. Even before this TikTok, there was like Instagram Shop and Facebook Shop. So, there have been a lot of brands which have been adding the shop button on their social media channels. So let's take a step back and talk about when did it all start and what it is today.
Yeah, I think in general, like people have often gone to social to learn about products, whether they think about it or not, whether it's directly from a brand or through a creator or influencer that they admire. I think there's, obviously a way to do it where it's not always such a hard sell, but I think product integration has always just been part of these platforms. What I find interesting and very much a trend that we're looking at going into 2022 is that now many of these platforms have noticed that trend, noticed that the consumer behavior has led to that. I think you're seeing the high levels of conversions in transactions through very like direct response campaigns in
Mhm.
results, to selling on social, that they actually have decided to organically integrate stores onto the platform, which I think is really fascinating. So we definitely saw that with Facebook and Instagram first, but now with TikTok, and I know we may be familiar with the TikTok made me buy it hashtag. There are so many products that have reached, viral zeitgeist capacity in the world from, I'm trying to think, obviously, like even Nespresso, like instant coffee at the beginning of the pandemic, to the pink stuff, which is just like this abrasive cleaner for your sink,
Yeah.
which I also personally bought because I
Wow.
love cleaning. It's been a great way for people to discover products. And now any business, regardless of their size, can actually sell their products directly on the TikTok platform, which is really cool.
That's cool, right? That's so. Uh, I think from going onto the website and then shopping for a product, you can just click on your social media, by just swiping. That's so amazing. Let's talk a bit about organic versus paid. Do you think with the new shop button or these integrations which allow the end user to shop within the social media channel itself, do you think the organic versus paid the kind of war that happens, is it going to end, or is it going to only aggravate or accelerate the difference or the gap between the organic reach versus the paid reach?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I've always been of the mind that like organic and paid actually should work together. I know
Mhm.
sometimes people like pit them against each other, and we definitely
Yeah,
have like organic content specialists and, paid and growth
yeah,
specialists. I always feel that when you have them in harmony, that really does create the most comprehensive strategy because they serve different purposes, right? You want to show a little bit of, if we're looking specifically for the purpose of this conversation around, products and selling on social, you don't want your organic post to have that hard sell. That's not the point.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah.
they want to show, the product being used in real life in a very aspirational way where your
Mhm.
kind of target consumer can see themselves, using it, integrating it into their life, like, but not in a way that feels forced or um, pushy, right? Like that's not the point. You're building a brand, you're building a lifestyle around this particular product. That's not to say that then you can't target and retarget down your funnel using paid. I think that again serves a time and place for more of that direct selling. Um, but I think anytime that you refuse to integrate the two into your strategy, you're just setting yourself up for failure. They really do work hand in hand, and they do help you actually continue to build your audience list, retarget those potential customers, and really um, not guarantee, I don't like saying that, but like, very much increase the level of conversion that you're looking to get. So I'm like the peacemaker. I'm like, they should be together as one and really look at holistically for the best results.
When we talk about or think about even organic versus paid, one thing that comes to our mind is virality. And with TikTok, as you might know already, that there are a lot more views, a lot more viral videos compared to any other platform. So, is it now have we reached the era in social media where everything is going to go viral, or are there still any strategies that brands can hack into?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. When it comes to virality, like in my career, I've always hated when people have been like, the objective is for this to go viral. You can't make something go viral. You can try, you can make something that is compelling and that people want to share, but by no means can you manufacture virality. And anybody that tells you that might be pulling, twisting your arm or pulling your leg, right? Um, I think in general, if you focus on making content that your audience cares about, that they engage with, and that you're seeing results with month over month, that's going to increase your chance of potentially, quote unquote, having that viral moment. But virality really happens when timing aligns, culture aligns, and the algorithm picks it up. And it's a recipe that is almost impossible to replicate. So I think setting yourself up with that goal sets you up for failure. Also, like, keep in mind that, like, even when something goes quote unquote viral, a whole segment of the population still hasn't seen it, right? I think
Yeah.
as like social professionals, we're like, oh gosh, like, this got like, 500,000 views, 1.5 million views, whatever it is. Sure, but that's like a tiny sliver of the world, right? So that's why it's important to just keep making things that people love and engage with. And engage with being the operative term, because nothing like makes me upset more is like content that just goes to die, that like your audience doesn't care about, nobody related to your audience cares about. Keeping in mind the audience, their needs and their desires, and fitting into that is always, the way to go. And then sure, if you get your viral moment, amazing, but not everything has to for it to be considered good or successful.
That's great. That's so virality shouldn't be the goal. Just keep engagement with audiences the top priority. That's great. Let's talk about the Shopify integration with TikTok, which is very interesting. What does it really mean for brands? I mean, the e-commerce brands are already making a foray into TikTok. A lot of brands are very popular and successful on TikTok. So what does it mean for brands which are not so popular or not at gone into TikTok or do not have a TikTok strategy in place?
Yeah, I think it just opens up a whole new possibility for their
Mhm.
audiences, right? But the beauty of, um, TikTok storefronts is that you can be a business of any size. You can be an independent business, you can be a seven-figure business, but you can still build a storefront. The cool thing about TikTok is like the algorithm is such where that, smaller businesses can still grow and still achieve a certain amount of reach organically. So why not try? Why not show your product in action through a video, get people excited about it so that maybe they can learn about you through this as a sales channel? I think there's like no reason not to use it, but it also really democratizes the playing field, because as much as like we'd love for everybody to have like their own e-commerce store set up, a Shopify store set up, whatever the situation may be, that's not always feasible for folks and that's not always accessible. So this adds another layer of access that is, free of charge and allows people to really build their business and get out there. The other cool thing too is that we know just from like research that Gen Z, which is a very like large segment of the TikTok audience, they want to be entrepreneurs. They want to own their own business. They don't really want to
Absolutely.
work for a company, which is
Yeah.
like so opposite to me and I guess how I felt growing up. And so we're seeing this like new generation of business owners really thriving on the platform. And this just gives them another way to build their business and become entrepreneurs, which I think is so awesome. Like you don't have to be like, 30 years old and starting your own company. You can be 18 and wherever you are in the world and have a great idea and get people to buy it. And we've seen there's so many great young entrepreneurs on the platform that talk about their success, but also like give some really great helpful tips to the community to help them grow as well. So I just think we're going to continue to see more of that.
That's amazing. So it's going to, boost the creator economy even more. Talking about the creator economy, I was thinking of slipping in this question as well. Is it going to be biased towards influencers? Compared to which probably few brands cannot afford right now. Probably they have to get up there and be the influencer themselves. Is it going to be, now that a lot of social commerce is happening, are influencers going to be the ones that are most sought after by brands?
I think it depends on what you define as an influencer. Of
Mhm.
course, they know there are people with, 500,000 followers as an audience, like huge audiences. But there was an article actually by the New York Times a couple of years ago that really holds true and was very much ahead of its time, where it's talking about the rise of nano influencers. And I think, so what a nano influencer is really someone with under 5,000 followers that is like a trusted member of their like immediate community. But also keeping in mind that we're seeing a trend of people moving towards curation rather than just influence, like curating their favorite products, showing what they use on a day-to-day basis without, having the big brand sponsorship behind it. It's more of like a tastemaker that is starting to become popular versus like the classic influencer kind of like, holding the product, smiling, talking about
Yeah.
how they use it, using my AirPods. And I think that brands, if they're strategic, they can actually like create really great relationships with people with smaller communities that perhaps are not looking for a huge amount of money in exchange. I always say that you should be people, product is not payment, product does not pay your bills. So pay your creators no matter the size. But I think it actually may allow people to, again, really build with like people that are not out of budget, because I think people are getting kind of fatigued of like these larger influencers because like, Kylie, do you really use like
Yeah.
Crest toothpaste? I don't know, just a strange example. So if anything, I think we're going to see the rise of smaller creators and curators, and that is going to be a much more accessible solution for even brands that are just starting out.
That's interesting, and that's very, I think, hopeful. So talking about future of social commerce, with the rise of, again, a lot of privacy updates, do you think brands can still make it in social channels, especially Facebook? I think it's taking a big beating out of all these social updates. I'm sure it's only a matter of time before they slap some sort of privacy issue on TikTok as well. So, how do brands really navigate these limitations posed by privacy challenges?
What I've seen, and this is purely anecdotal, is that brands are just having to cast the net a little bit wider. Um, people, yes, they may say that they're opting out of tracking. That means that their experience on the platform is not going to be as tailored to them. They're going to get a very like broad set of
Yeah.
advertisements. I have experimented that personally, and I've like turned off tracking, and I get the weirdest ads. I'm like, what the hell? And I think people at some point may realize like they actually didn't mind the apps knowing them as well as they
Yeah.
did. I think obviously privacy is very important, and like, these are important conversations to be having. But I think it's just a matter of like advertisers and businesses rethinking their paid strategy and how they can make ad content that's a little more wider and mass audience aware versus something super niche. But also, again, like keeping in mind, you still have the organic component of these platforms, and knowing that you can like garner emails from potential customers, use that to build a custom audience, use that to build a lookalike audience, especially on Facebook and Instagram. Those are still really great possibilities. You just may have to get a little bit creative as to how you're going to proceed forward. So it's all about adapting. And that's really always been the part of social that's been most fascinating thing. Like there's been changes, whether it's been changes with reach or the algorithm or privacy or whatever it is, and you adapt or you're not successful, right? Adapt or die. And I think that's a very important model that holds true, especially with like the iOS 14 updates.
That's very well put. So we are almost at the end of the episode. I want to wrap up with one last question. As a social media strategist, what was this one campaign in social media, any channel across Facebook or Insta or TikTok that you were completely in awe of, which you probably can describe to our listeners here?
Yeah, something that I did.
Yeah.
Okay. Most recently, I had the opportunity to actually launch Shopify's first merch store, which actually was inspired by a tweet. And so we had released a tweet announcing one of our first social commerce tweets, actually, around Shop, which is our payment platform, or Shopify's payment platform, and that integration into Facebook and Instagram. And that tweet just blew up for us organically. So much engagement. People were getting so excited, and they were like, when are we getting Shop sweaters? We want Shop sweaters. So I saw an opportunity there to make some sweaters for our community and run a little contest. So, I spoke to my higher ups, figured out, a reasonable CPM, figured out what would make sense, worked with one of our merchants to make this very limited run of sweaters. And we got the engagement threshold we were looking for like that. Like it happened within I want to say a minute or two. And people were so excited about the sweaters. We had other payment competitors tweeting at us being like, what the hell? It was this whole Twitter moment. But we used that as a proof of concept for actually launching a store for our work for Shopify's merch. Shopify had never, as an e-commerce company, they never even had a merch store. So we worked across, it was very much a team effort with folks from legal and UX and design and ops and social, but social really led the way for this idea that turned into a multi-team project. And we dropped our first product, which was the cha-ching button. When you push it, it said free serotonin. It made the sound that the platform makes when you make a sale, which is the quintessential cha-ching sound. And we sold out in an hour. Our community loved it, but I love how social inspired this idea, but also inspired the product, because one of the biggest tweets we get is most popular tweets we get is how excited people are when they make that sale. That sound to them is just a huge serotonin boost, a huge mood boost. So we took that insight and turned it into an actual product. So it was really cool to see social act as a physical manifestation in the world of something the audience cares about and what they want. And we saw the results, which was so great. So yeah, it's something I'm super proud of.
So that's fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on our show and sharing a lot of insights. Thank you so much, Francisca.
Of course. Thanks for having me. This was so much fun.